I guess the first thing we should mention is that for the month of May, we're going to be having like a little spring break thing, which will be fun.
I think the first thing we should mention is that this is our second time recording it.
I didn't want to put you on blast. I was like thinking about talking about it later, but I guess we can bring it up now.
You should just bring it on blast right now so we could set the tone for this conversation.
Yeah. So Gina and I actually recorded. This is our second time recording it because I got the file from Gina and I was starting to sync it up, and it sounded like she was crumpling a paper bag anytime that she started talking. And I was like, hey, Gina, I think you might have been recording out of the wrong mic.
And I was, because I didn't have my microphone plugged in, the correct one.
But anyways, we're going to go on spring break in May. That doesn't mean that we're going to be like going off the grid or not doing anything. It mostly just means that we're going to be like not accepting new work and just focusing on our promises to the creative community and our, existing clients.
Yeah. And ultimately the big one is so that we can basically finish building the plane and then fly it, because we're currently building and flying at the same time. So I was like, this is definitely a good time for us to just take on one of the roles.
Because March was super hectic for the both of us, where it was just like the busiest that we had ever been. Yeah. It was also like a really good month financially, but it was also, we were suffering a little bit. Oh
yeah, no, the end feeling was like, okay, we can definitely achieve our financial milestone or goal, but like, let's not do it like this again was the thing. So we kind of like fulfilled half of the manifestation on like, yes, we did it, but like, let's not hurt ourselves again and like do it in a nice manner.
Yeah. And there were two little things that we had like realized in the process of having that month, which is number one, like Jean said, our manifestations really do work. There's something about when we say something, it happens. And when we started the year, Jean and I had like an initial call that we were like, okay, well, we're setting our goals for the year. What's our like resolution? What's the theme that we're working towards? And the question was, is it more towards client work? Is it more towards community? Is it more towards... And then Jean was like, it's client work. We're going to do a lot of good client work. And we did. And we got too much.
Yes. It's not a bad problem to have, it's a good
absolutely
problem.
Not.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
And then the second thing was we were working with a client and they had put it in the back of our head that they were striving towards doing a 3 on 1 off. So like 3 weeks of working and then 1 week of a break. Ever since Jean had heard that, she was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So our first step towards that, I guess, is going to be not accepting new work for a month so that we can actually take a break or like a kind of break.
We can slow down, I think, is the thing. Like, I want to be able to have us like slow down and enjoy work life a little bit instead of like running towards this finish line that when you cross it, you're like, all this lactic acid has built up and now I'm in pain. Like I just want to chill and like be able to like what I do.
And it all worked out kind of perfectly because both my and Jean's birthday are in May. Hey. So mine is at the end of the month. Jean's is at the beginning of the month. So we're going to be turning 28. And
we're going to have an identity crisis with this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't fit the name anymore, but I think the idea of it, like the growing up, the threshold of 27, I think it still fits. So we're not changing the name, but we will be liars for the rest of the time. It's a forever 27.
Yeah, forever 27. That'll be fine.
So Jean, what's your goal for our break? I think we talked about it a little bit, but...
Well, now that you asked me, and one, since it's been so long since recording, part of it has kind of disappeared in my head, but definitely to be able to focus on building out Studio DBJ and setting the actual internal foundation much more stable. A little bit more deep dive is that, we're going through some like business and licensing changes and all that stuff that I have to step up a little bit more to. So I want to be able to focus on that. And then the last one is the collaboration aspect and creative community aspect on like, how can we work with more folks that we like, that more folks that don't know us, and then just kind of do the things we really, really just want to do.
I guess I have 3 goals. 2 of them are more DBJ related. One of them is more like me related. The first one is getting our website updated. There, to peek behind the curtain, we don't actually have solid brand guidelines for Studio DBJ, so we kind of are designing whatever we want at the time.
Yeah.
A goal for me is to like redesign the website with a Studio DBJ brand in mind, and then getting like some additional things up on there. The second thing is to actually work on some kind of creative resource for people, because it's been a little bit since we've done something like that. And I don't know, I think it's fun to like put ourselves in the mind of what do people need and how can we help them with that. The last thing that's a little bit more personal to me is, because it's been so busy for me, both with working with Jean at Studio DBJ and also with tutoring, because the end of the semester is coming up and like AP tests are happening. So I have a lot of like math tutoring that I'm doing. I haven't been cleaning very often. So I'll like have every 3 weeks, I'll have like an urge to clean, and then I get exhausted over the weekend. So the goal is to keep things a little bit more under control during the month. And then hopefully that's a habit that stays in June and July and the rest of the year.
I support that last goal fully, because I definitely feel you on that.
And because we're doing the spring break, we think that that's a good excuse to talk about taking a break in general and how people can do it, whether they're working for themselves or working for somebody else. So today we're going to be talking about the need for breaks, how to make space for one, and what to do to feel ready to take on the world again after your break. I'm Calvin.
And I'm Jean.
And this is 27, a podcast about growing up.
Calvin, how do you know when you need a break?
I think that, sorry, I'm thinking back to the first recording and we're trying to remember what I said. I think the example that I gave was like when you're driving and then you forgot the last 10 minutes of what you did while you were driving.
Yeah.
I think that that's when you know you need to take a break driving. And that's kind of the feeling that I have with taking a break when you're working is when you feel like you're on autopilot, when you've checked out and you're not invested or motivated or remembering even the things that you did and everything kind of blurs together. That number one means that you are getting fatigued. And number two, it means that you're not really doing a good job, because which like, no, don't feel guilty if you are in that mode right now, but just, it's a signal that if the things that you're doing aren't resonating with you, or if the things that you're doing are not standing out to you, that maybe you're not putting your full effort into it. And that's not a you problem as like you're not good. It's a problem that you need rest and you need to like recalibrate.
Yeah, that's totally, I agree with all of that. It's like when you're working on a project and the priority is to just get it done, you definitely know you need to take a break. But if you're working on a project and the priority is like, how can we push the art direction? How can we extend the brand identity a little bit more? Like, you don't need a break yet. You just need to like chillax on how much effort you want to push in there in the first round or second round. But I was like, yeah, I think I agree with all of that. I remember my analogy was that you're just running, but you don't know where you're running to. That was, the exact same note that you had talked about.
When I was actually working, I wasn't like very in tune with my body and my needs. So a lot of times when I needed a break, it was an emergency. Like I had to take a break or else I was going to have a kind of mental breakdown or physical breakdown or something. It was tough because since I wasn't doing those check-ins, it wasn't until I woke up in the morning and felt like an existential crisis, like I couldn't get out of bed, that I was like, oh, I actually need to take a break right now or else. And that wasn't fun for me to like wake up and feel that way. It wasn't fun for my my coworkers to be like to hear me call and pretend to be sick, or hear me call and
I didn't know
say
you did
like
that.
I think I did it once. I try to be pretty upfront, but I think I did it once where I was just like, I didn't. It was a time in my life where I didn't feel like I could stand in my truth as strongly as I do now. So I felt like I wasn't deserving of a break, or I wasn't putting myself first in a way that I at least do better now.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Like you speaking about your old workplace makes me remember not even the need for rest or taking a break, but like taking a break from that phase of my life to transition into a new phase of my life, right? Where I was like, I think this is the peak of when it's the time to quit. And like taking a break from like this early entry age of Jean in this office, and Jean has to now transition into a new phase of her career, which is kind of like the, going into the mid associate level type of designer route. But, whether that was like a new company or like, going down the freelancing route, the whole idea of like you're running and I've described this before, like running towards a black hole. You don't know where you're running to and you can't really envision the future. And you're like, okay, I need to take a brain rest from the mundane activities that have been happening every single day for the past 3 to 5 years. And I also need to like break away from this character that I have, to retire her is the best way to say it, and then transition into a new part of her life.
I think that's an interesting way of looking at it, because at least the way that I imagine breaks, it's usually more towards the physical need for a break, where it's like I am having trouble focusing or I'm having trouble keeping my energy up. You know, it's a very body experience, but you're talking about this idea of needing a break from being stuck in a certain mindset where you are in a rut and you're taking a break from, you know, following that same path and treading something new. I think that's really interesting.
It's like, you know, there's multiple different kinds of breaks, I think is the best way to say it. Like the break we're about to take is just like a recess chillax break. Like we're just gonna slow ourselves down, let our body rest, let our mind rest. And then there's like, you know, the bigger one on like, I think a lot of folks before they reach the age of 27 are gonna come across this maybe once or twice before it feels comfortable to them in their later stage of life, where it's like, okay, maybe this is the time to pick up and go to a new location. Maybe this is the time to leave this relationship, or maybe this is the time to say yes to this new job. You know, it's like, it's time to take a break from that mindset and transition into a new one.
You can let me know if I should cut this out, but I think that there is a certain element of the spring break that we're going to be taking that is also a mindset break, where it's, especially in late March, the both of us were feeling like we were going down this path that we might not necessarily want to go down, it felt like, it felt like our goals that we set for ourselves towards maybe the end of 2020 and kind of the outcomes that were happening in late February, early March, where we were like, this is good, but is it what we want?
Yeah.
And a little bit of April and definitely in May, it's figuring out not exactly, but figuring out roughly what we want and having a general, you know, because we can only do so much.
Will we ever exactly figure out what we want, Kelvin? No, I think it's totally fine to keep that in there, because it's definitely true. Because there was a moment when we were working where I was like, we didn't leave our jobs to do this, right? Like we didn't leave our jobs to do a 9 to 5, and we didn't leave our jobs to feel panicked or to feel rushed or to feel this weird urgency or sense of pressure. Like we left our jobs so that we can ultimately have a happy and fulfilling life. And then it was probably around like week 3, because March was a long month. Like let's kind of call that out. It was like a 5-week month, like the cowbell rung on like, where this is not why we're doing this. Like it's exciting to get the new clients. It's exciting to like have high profile clients also, like let's be real, and have like our hands in bigger projects. But I was like, this is not why we're doing this. So we need to pull ourselves back and then just readjust and resettle, because we want people to come to DBJ because they like DBJ, not just because like they like the work that we do, you know, because like anyone can do work, anyone can do what we do, but it's like, if they like us, then yeah, let's work together. If they don't like us, that's totally fine. Like there are so many other people that are a good fit for them. So,
and Jean and I dealt with that stress in very different ways. I don't know how much, I'm like not 100% sure about the astrology of it all. Jean is a Taurus, I'm a Gemini, so she's an earth sign, I'm an air sign. But when I am confronted with like a very large amount of stress, I tend to withdraw. I tend to be like, I'm gonna go do something else. I'm gonna like avoid this. I'm gonna go, which I'm so sorry about that, Jean.
You deflect. It's so funny. I like love it. Sometimes it's just like, I was like, when Calvin doesn't answer his Slack, I'm like, he's definitely taking a nap. Like I know he's taking a nap.
But Jean's response to a lot of stress is to just like really buckle in and like just kind of do the dang thing, which I really respect. And like we kind of need that. Like we both, like I need her to do that, and I think that I guess she doesn't really need me to do it.
I need to keep us afloat, you know. And then you need to like wake up from your nap in the boat to start rowing the boat again.
I'm so sorry. This is something that it's something that I struggle with a lot, especially with my old job, where I was also under an immense amount of stress and I had less agency over it. When I was working in that situation, I was struggling really hard with this idea about feeling lazy and this idea that I was a bad person because I wasn't able to find the energy to do the things that I needed to, in the same way that I was watching my coworkers being able to like work through hard days or like come in over the weekends, and my body was just like, like I don't want to do any of that. I think that sometimes you get to that point too where you're so stressed out that your body is literally telling you, but when you get to that point, it's really hard to convince yourself it's hard to like keep pushing that boulder up the hill. But
for real.
the big thing that I've been learning is that I'm trying really hard not to use the word lazy. You can hear that I didn't say it at all during the entire time. I said I took a lot of naps and I said that I needed a lot of breaks and that I was avoiding things, but I never said that I was lazy, because saying that was something that I was using to bully myself, and as something that I was using as a value judgment on me, as opposed to talking about the behavior that I was doing. I was saying, oh, your behavior makes you a bad person. Not that you need to fix the behavior, but Calvin, you are a bad person because you're not being productive.
Yeah. Because like, I know when you're taking a nap, or if you disappeared, it's not because you're lazy. I know it's because you're stressed. And that's like a signal to me that, okay, we're overworking ourselves, right? It's never like a Calvin's lazy, he doesn't want to do it. Like, I know that about you, and it's more so lucky because we have like an intimate relationship, you know, versus like if it was anyone else who doesn't work the way we work, where we're like life is about being happy versus and fulfilled versus like life is about making money, you know. Because even with any of our other collaborators too, I'm like, chillax, you guys, it's Friday, don't respond, tell me on Monday, or like tell me what's going on. I'm not gonna get mad if you go hang out with your friends at 12 o'clock. Like, you're supposed to do that. That's life. But just let me know so that I know how to keep all things in control. That is just like the protocol there. I hate the word lazy because one, you know, you use it to bully yourself. And then two, it like in some way makes other people feel justified in how productive they are, or at least in like it's some weird like measurement to, again, like the value of yourself in comparison to other people. Once that's kind of ingrained in you, you just kind of start to like put it into other aspects of your life. Because even when you described me as like, I just like to buckle down and like get through it, and I was like, yeah, I have a set deadline that like I'm working towards and that's what I'm running to. But sometimes during the day when I buckle down, there are sacrifices I make in certain design decisions or design projects where I'm like, it's because I'm working towards finishing like 12 projects to a 3-week deadline, right? So certain things are going to have to just not go all the way. And then I start to bully myself on like, well, am I being lazy in this design solution or this like overall project because I'm just trying to get to the finish line? And it's like, actually the answer is no. It's just you're trying to make things work as much as possible. But you know, the easy word to say is lazy instead of like explaining the whole description.
Because you know, our American like puritanical values put such a hard emphasis on work ethic and your ability to produce and stuff that if you aren't productive because of this like religious past that the US has, it's like, oh, you're not productive, so you're evil, you're gonna go to hell or whatever.
I know,
like
right? Yeah, like you are
the Pilgrims
sinning.
or whatever.
Yeah, I literally thought of the Pilgrims when you said Puritan. It's also due to hustle culture. Like it's so weird how like hustle culture is the thing you should, like the cool thing that you should do, and you should be hustling and grinding every day, every minute of your life. But the moment you're like, I'm a rest for me, and like I'm about like self-love, self-respect, that type of thing for your body, it's like that's a whole like woo-woo like realm. They're lazy, they're out of touch. And it's like, well, isn't hustle culture also out of touch? One is just placed on a higher scale than the other because of the financial outcomes of them.
That's why I challenge people, instead of saying that somebody is being lazy or that you are being lazy, to call out the behavior rather than trying to make a judgment. Some other words that I would use instead are to be like, you are being unproductive, or you are being inefficient, or you are being
overwhelmed. Yeah. Actually describing the things that kind of correlate to what you feel, I think helps you solve the problem of why you believe you're lazy in a positive manner, rather than like, I'm being lazy, I'm not getting anything done, and now I have to stay up at 3 a.m. because I didn't do anything all day, right? If you're just like, actually, I needed to take a nap at 2 o'clock, I will take a nap at 2 o'clock. I will wake up at 4 o'clock. I feel so much better. Now I can get whatever I need to get done in 30 minutes so I'm still going to go to bed at 9 p.m. Right? Like that is what should actually be the process versus like struggling through until 3 a.m.
I had an old supervisor who would say that she, instead of calling them naps, she would call them non-activity periods, which, like a cute little acronym. But yeah, it's taking a nap, like you said, can be productive because it helps you rest enough to actually get things done, as opposed to running on empty, maybe not completing the task in the ideal way and just trying to get through it. Maybe by taking that break, you're actually going to do better for yourself and do better for others.
Yeah. Like, I guess total confession is that like sometimes if I need to, I'll go to Costco with Mama Bear when I'm like, you know what? It's loud outside. I'm really stressed out right now. It's due tomorrow or it's due late at night, end of day, midnight, that's how we function. I was like, I'm going to go to Costco because there's no point in pushing pixels around for 30 more minutes or like 3 more hours and you're not going to be happy with it. That is a physical break that I need to take and then I can come back and then we'll be good.
I guess a question for you, Jean, is do you think that needing to take a break is self-centered?
Yes. Yes. It feels weird to say yes, that it's self-centered, because when you think of self-centered, you think of it as like very greedy.
Like inconsiderate.
Yeah, inconsiderate and greedy. Rather than self-centered, it's more like you are putting the importance of yourself. Like at least you're putting your health and everything first versus second, because that's something you can't get back.
It's not self-centered, it is self-centering.
I guess so, yeah. Let's just change
like that Oprah meme that I did. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I have no clue.
It was a meme from the interview with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, where she was like, "Were you silent or were you silenced?" And it was like a dramatic moment, but everybody made it into a meme. I think it's time to bring up that even though the conversation with yourself that you have that you need a break is self-centered and should only be focused on you and your needs and your body and all that stuff, actually taking a break and actually getting to be able to take a break is something that is dependent on other things outside of your like immediate circle. So I think the first step is being honest with yourself about, do you need a break? And it's like, if it's yes, then that becomes a conversation with others, as opposed to doing something like me where I was like, I gotta go. Like, I gotta go. And that's like not cool. It's really not cool. You should be considerate of others because, number one, you work on that team, right? So the effects of you needing to just dip and like leaving your team to fend for itself for a little bit, that's going to have an effect on you in terms of their relationship with you. And then also on you as in, if you avoided something important, then you're going to need to do double work when you get back.
Yeah. I'm glad you kind of brought up the whole thing about the team and also company and everything, because I think before even examining like what is the ecosystem of your life and your work life to be able to take a break, as in like, there's you, your team, your company, your projects, the clients, your bills, all that stuff. One of the most important things is to realize you're not important. You are literally not the most important person at your company or wherever you work at. Like, they are a company that has functioned or has built themselves for 1 year, 3 years, 20 years, 50 years. They can live without you, right? Like, you have to make sure you can live without them as well. And don't be so dependent on your worth and value at a company that you feel you cannot take a break because they're going to fall apart without you. Because
it's a balance for sure, because that was those were two feelings that I was warring with at the same time. I think at any job that I've ever had, which is, at the same time, I feel like I am nothing, but also that I'm holding up the building.
Yeah.
And that's especially easy to feel when you're at a small office, because if you're entry level and you are at a small office, then it's at the same time you are the lowest person on the totem pole, but you do so much work that you feel like you are critical on the team. And it's a weird feeling to have.
It is, yeah. And especially like for me, like one, again, intimate office, but also before even entering that office, many other places I worked at, I was in like team lead roles, right? Whether it was like I was an intern, but I was leading the other interns, where that made me believe I was so important. And then there was definitely a moment where I'm like, I'm not important. And that is kind of the best feeling to have. Like even in Studio DBJ, I'm like, I'm not the most important person in Studio DBJ. So like even without me, Studio DBJ will still be fine. Like Calvin understands how to get things done and like how to like manage things and make sure, you know, everything's supposed to go, and I can trust him to that. And Calvin also is like, he is not the most important person to Studio DBJ. So if he needs to take a nap, as we've talked a lot about naps, it's totally okay. Like, you know, and your value and my value is not tied to the company. It's more tied to what we want to do in life, which is to just be fulfilled.
It's easier said than done, but it's about trying to have as accurate of an understanding of your place as you can. And one of the ways that will definitely help with figuring that out is being communicative with the people on your team. If you've gone through the first step already and you understand that this is a point where you need a break, that you bring that up to your team as early as you can so that you can talk about it and so that you can figure out what is possible, because you want to be responsive and respectful of the things that need to get done, but you also want to be responsive and respectful to yourself. Yeah. You want to kind of set your terms on what does it mean to take a break, right? And like for us, it's that, okay, we're going to go on a break for 1 month. We're going to say no to client work. We're going to say yes to our existing clients and taking care of them. And we're going to say yes to Studio DBJ supported things, whether it's the things supporting the creative community or resources or, you know, new photos, website situation. We're going to say yes to those things. No matter what, we're going to get incoming work, and we are going to say no to that. But how do we make that no not feel like we're abandoning clients, which is, okay, we're not working on it in May, but we can either have a kickoff in May. That's totally fine. Like a meeting in May is fine. Or let us know if we can actually start it in June. And if that is a yes, that's okay. Or if you can't start it in June, we'll send you someone else. You know, like those are the things that are going to be responsible in us taking a break. And then when you take a break with your supervisor, your company, you kind of go with the terms that you want. Don't try to solve the problem yet. That is literally the responsibility of your supervisor and company, because they need to be able to survive without you. Because that is why they're a successful company, is that they have systems in place that are supposed to make this possible. But, you know, come to the table with the terms that you really want. And that's kind of the conversation you're going to have to negotiate when or how you can take a break, you know, so that it's not like this urgent emergency that like, I can't make it in today, or, you know, like, you know, the moments of like panic. Because there was definitely a day, now that I'm thinking about it, where I was like severely depressed for like a week or two, or I can't remember, but I was just so discouraged every single day at work. And there was a moment where my supervisor definitely noticed. She started giving me feedback, and I just like shut down, because I was in my head, I was like, I knew they were going to say no. I knew this was what was going to happen. There's literally no point in me like trying to push anything in the design, because this always happens. And I was super discouraged that she was like, how about you take the day off on Friday? Right? Like I was visibly shut down and needed a break. That break didn't really help out as much, you know? Well, I think that there's two parts to it, which is the acknowledgement and then the accountability. And I think that it was really nice that you had a supervisor who could at least acknowledge that you needed a break. I think that the thing that didn't help, or the thing that could have helped more, was if after that break, you know, after that long weekend that you had, that she talked to you and was saying like, hey, I want to open up this conversation about what we can do to help you stay more present. Because I noticed that you weren't present, which is why, you know, we talked. And then, you know, making that a conversation, because that's the only way that both parties, like both you and your supervisor, your team, whatever, can understand what to do.
No, I think that was a good way to say it. Because like I know between both you and me, we'll always ask like, are you okay? Especially if you're like, Jean, you didn't say good morning to everyone. I'm like, no.
Oh, it's not even that. Sometimes I will, we have a shared task list. So I see what you're working on. And if I see a lot of things on your list, and you start your morning by sometimes telling me what you're doing, you're like, I'm working on these 4 projects. I'm like, 4? And then at 3 p.m., if I don't hear from you, like, hey, Jean, you doing okay?
You're like, knock, knock, are you there? I'm like, yes, I am.
And then the other tip for asking for a break is, if you're being very mindful and meditative and stuff about checking in with yourself about when you're going to need a break, if you catch that early, ask as early as you possibly can, because your schedule might be booked for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, but if you catch that like minor fatigue and you're like, oh, I can see this being a problem in 3 months, your schedule doesn't have anything 3 or 4 months, so just like do it. And make it the question, and then everything will be revolved around you, as opposed to you making everything about you. You know.
Don't try to solve the problem by yourself first, because taking a break is a whole ecosystem on, the different components that make it possible to take a break. And it's just readjusting all those elements so that it can happen. Because if the answer is no, then it's like, okay, what is making it no that you can't take a break? Is it because your company is at the end of its fiscal year, so it's just trying to like get everything out? Is it because the next month you won't be able to meet your bills, right? Like being able to define those things and just kind of prioritize it makes it actually approachable for you to take a break. And so that way it doesn't feel like it's something impossible. It's just like, okay, so for you to actually responsibly take a break, that means, okay, maybe you can't take a break in May because you don't have enough money to pay your bills. So what you're going to do is save up in April. In May, you're just going to decide not to go out, and you're going to save up that money. And then in June, okay, if you have enough to cover June, you're going to take a break in June then, or the break is only going to be 1 week. Like, you just have to define what are the things that are making it impossible, and then work to readjust those elements. And especially if you have someone who can actually do it for you, i.e. your boss, that is so much more helpful. And all you have to do is then be prepared to take the break.
Let's say all that goes off without a hitch, and you get to actually take your break. So I guess this is the fun part, right? Like you get to rest. But how do you do that? I think that there's 3 like major types of breaks. Number 1 is you are quote unquote on a break, but you're catching up on stuff or doing little things that you can just to not fall behind, and then have this like off the clock catching up and having a little bit of fun time. Then there's the no work break, where you're doing absolutely nothing. It's kind of like a super long weekend, and you get to just relax, recharge, and be able to veg out for a little bit, which I mean, some people really want. And then there's more like activity vacations, where you're traveling or you have an itinerary and you're trying to do something specific, that there is like a goal. There's an active goal for your break.
There's a purpose to this break.
Jean, which one do you think like resonates most with you?
I dream of the no work break situation, but I'm most comfortable with you work a little bit in the morning or you work a little bit in the night, and then you like take the rest of the day off. I think that's the one that makes me feel most secure, because I just want to know what's kind of going on, what's happening throughout the time that we're not working. Because you'll also see me panic sometimes when I'm like, is this what's supposed to happen? And you're like, yes, this is what normalcy is. And I'm like, okay. So I think I do best with the slightly working and then off rest of the day.
I'm the opposite. I kind of strive for like being able to do something during a break, being able to like get something done. But there's something about maybe it's the avoidance, thing.
The deflection.
My streak of trying to run away from my problems.
You're Gemini.
That the second that my brain is in like sectioned off break territory, I'm like, I'm not doing shit. So I really lean more towards the no work, or like something that is doing something that is absolutely not work, like traveling or chores even, those are the things that I like to do during breaks, because my brain physically cannot focus on something that I am not required to do. But I think we mentioned this on the previous recording, that like Jean knows that if I've assigned myself a task for that day, it's 99% of the time going to get done that day.
Yeah. Like with our shared task list, I can just see like the blue ones, Calvin's gonna get to it. The unhighlighted ones, don't even ask. Like, don't ask until April 22nd, or don't ask until like May 1st, because that is not on his list at all. It's like not highlighted in blue, so it's not important.
What we're trying to get at is like, get in touch with what recharges you the best. For me, it's nothing. For me, it's no activity. And for Jean, it's like being able to have a more normal work life.
Yeah, I guess so. A part of it is that. And then also, like, I feel like you also just hear me say this a lot too. It's like life is about being fulfilled and enjoyed, right? And I want to have a healthy relationship with work and all that stuff. I don't like it when work or things, especially if client calls or things, start to interfere with other elements of life in terms of like, I can't go to my nephew's birthday party because I have to do XYZ, or I can't like dance with my niece because I have to get on a call. Those are unhealthy situations with work. And in March, that definitely did happen a little bit. And so getting recharge is like being able to still, do what you love and then just being able to enjoy and live life.
Well, yeah, I think you said that on your last trip, there was a good balance of like you being able to get a little bit of work done, but also veg out. That it was like such a comfortable pace for you to be in Thailand.
It was so great. Like basically I'd wake up at maybe 9 or 10 a.m. And get some work done. I had a very lovely kitchen auntie who would make me a fried egg every morning. And like with the way she had like called me in Thai, it was like Miss Jean every morning. And I was like, I'm a Mrs. Like, I never expected this. It was like Lady Jean, Mrs. Jean. And I'm like, okay, didn't expect this, but I would just call her like auntie, So she'd bring me a fried egg, get my emails and everything done. And because of the time difference, it was like close to end of day in the US. So get all that done. Then I had by lunch, like the rest of the day off to hang and chill with everyone, check in a little bit before dinner because it's like in the early AMs, right? Eat dinner, hang out with the fam bam, and then go and work a little bit intensively because that's the early morning for everyone here. So make sure all the emails, design and everything gets out by midnight. And then your girl would go clubbing and then just like kind of start that all over again. I was like, that was a good, healthy, fulfilling work pace, where I was like, I still got work done. I still hung out with the fam. I still got some fulfilling life experience, whether it was getting intoxicated or tattooed, and ate good food. And I was like, I came back, I think, even coming back to LA, I was like, no, I feel fully rested, even though I did work and there were some stressful times, but I was like, I feel fully rested. And then getting back into the hustle of being in LA was totally different. And I was like, man, I do miss the East Asia workflow with the US, that was like yeah.
I think my favorite vacation or break, I guess, that I've taken was one that was relatively recent as well, where I went to Bali. So what happened was one of my cousins was getting married and she was doing a really small destination wedding in Bali. I hadn't taken a vacation in a while. It was probably like bordering like a year since I had taken a vacation. And the last vacation that I had taken while I was at that job was not very restful. It was going to a music festival. So I wasn't resting.
I think also just like FYI for everyone, Calvin likes staying at home. So that's why
I love staying at home.
That's why that music festival was not restful.
I also lost my phone. Not a great time. It was a good time, but I also like panicked a lot too. But yeah, going to Bali was really nice because I didn't have a set itinerary and I was with other people who were kind of like drivers who like to do a lot of things. So I got to have a lot of rest time. I had like a lot of family time and also time with my partner because it was sort of the first international trip that we had done together, and we decided that we would both do that trip together. And because like other things were sort of planned for me, and I was just kind of like, I'm here to hang out and I'm here to chill out and see what other people want to do and then tan a lot, I guess. And it was a wonderful ceremony, and the week that I spent there was really, really, really restful. Even though like Jean said, even though I was doing a lot of stuff, I was visiting a lot of like Hindu temples and stuff. It didn't feel draining because it was at like my pace, as opposed to feeling like I had to knock everything out of the checklist. Yeah. We've talked about breaks that we've taken where we got a lot out of it, but how do you feel about the term like getting the most out of a break?
Before we even get to that, I was gonna say also your photos from Bali look really, really nice. Yeah, they were really, really nice. I think I just looked at one a few days ago, the one at the water's coming out. Yeah, I went to go look at that again. I was like, that one was really pretty. But how I feel about getting the most out of a vacation, is I hate it. Definitely should have some type of plan or direction when you take a vacation or you go on a rest, so that you're not stressed when you get there and you don't know what to do. But I think it's just having the lowest expectation is what you should do to be able to get the most out of a vacation. Because when you go in with like expecting to fulfill certain itineraries and certain things, you just get more tired, exhausted, and stressed out. Like, you're more stressed out after coming back from the vacation, and that's not the point. I advise not to get the most out of a vacation.
Yeah, it shouldn't be the goal, I guess. The goal is to take a break. The whole purpose of taking a break is that you are not trying to optimize something. You're not trying to like whittle something down to be its most efficient. You're just trying to get back to where you were.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is to have low expectations and do what you want.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely Jean in her early 20s was a work hard, play hard type of gal. You know, she was like, I'm a hustle and then I'm gonna go drink tequila. But now she's like, no, like, you're supposed to be at peace, you know, wind down. When you go on a vacation, when you go play, quote unquote, you're not supposed to play hard. You're just supposed to play. That's it, you know? Like, when you go to a playground, you want to sit on the swings by yourself, it's totally fine. Or you could play tag with a group of friends. That's also fine. But you just have to play. And that's kind of the thing when you go on a vacation, is you just gotta play. Don't set that whatever expectation it is for it. Just let it naturally happen.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. Sorry, when you were talking about that, I was thinking of that Lady Gaga video where she was like, plane, bus, another club, no sleep, another club. And then people like loop it so that it's just like, it's so funny. I think that pretty much sums up everything that we wanted to say about breaks.
Is that we're very excited, you know. We're not gonna disappear off the grid, so we'll still be around.
Ironically, I think you'll probably see more of us, and that we'll actually be posting more on social media.
There you go. One of the main things I really wanted to get to on the break was our social media. Like, big question. How do you work with social media influencers and work with like social media content when our social media itself is so inconsistent? And
that's how you know we're booked and busy.
Yeah. Which is like the most ridiculous thing. It's like, oh, they're not posting, so they're really busy. Oh, they're posting, so they have no work. Like, no, that's not how it works. But also, Calvin, we are also switching our podcast scheduling.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because Calvin does so much editing work, you guys. It's not just we record and he uploads it. Like, I see a lot of other podcasts that are like that, where they're like, oh, we're just gonna record on video and then upload it to YouTube. I'm like, Calvin does not do that. What Calvin does is he syncs it up and then rearranges the audio so that our conversation fits a good storyline, so that you also don't have to listen to like a whole hour and a half of our recording and rambling. You know, he cuts it down to a great 38 to 42 minutes. And so Calvin cannot edit 2 episodes in a month on top of like keeping Studio DBJ afloat. So part of taking a break is also reducing the workload so that it's manageable and it also doesn't like overwhelm the things that we enjoy doing. So we're switching to
it's also,
one a week. Or not one a month, sorry.
It's also something that I put on myself. From a couple of like podcasters that I listen to, one of their big tips with recording and creating podcasts was to be really respectful of your listeners' time. And especially with a conversational podcast like this, it can be super easy just to let things get rambly. And I want anybody who listens, I want to make sure that you all know that I respect your time and that I do not think you should listen to all of our rambling and all of our production notes and all of our empty silences. That, you know, we want to make sure that it is a concise, good thing that you take away from listening to our podcast, whether you listen to only one episode or whether you listen to every single one. But yeah, thank you. We really appreciate you stopping by. Like, anytime that anybody listens, I am immensely grateful because this is 30 to 45 minutes of your day, sometimes an hour, where you're able to just listen to us talk about stuff.
No, I just checked our analytics this morning. I'm like, thank you to all the folks in the US, to the folks in Canada, to the folks in Russia, to the folks in like Slovakia, to Slovakia. There you go. I was like, whoa, I couldn't remember where the V was. I'm like, oh gosh. We really do try to make sure that each moment is as helpful as possible.
You can find new episodes of our podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. We, like Jean said, are going to be transitioning to every month. So at the start of every month, you'll be getting a new episode. Also sign up for our newsletter. It'll be now announcing every new episode where at the start of the month. We have been doing this thing where we're trying to get guest artists to do some, illustrations for the newsletter. So we're really excited to like collaborate with those people to give them the little exposure that we can give them and then also pay them.
Because we are about that life. So at least for this quarter until June, we are featuring Kaylin Kim, whose bold graphic line work is super exciting, is all I could say. It's just super exciting.
If you want to sign up for the newsletter itself, you can do that on our website. If you scroll a little bit, or I think go all the way down to the bottom of the homepage, you'll be able to input your info so that you can get our email blast every month. Subscribe, and we hope to see you for the next one, which will be in the first week of June.
I know.
We're really excited about it. We're just going to keep saying that. We're very excited to take this break.
Oh, hell yeah. We are so excited. Cannot celebrate excited. Our birthday, everything.
But we will see you when we see you. Awesome. So take care, everybody, and bye.
Bye.